Hello, guys, and welcome to the Legendary Ladies podcast. We are doing another duo episode this week, and we're talking about San Diego Comic Con. So this is gonna be fun.
Woohoo!
Me and Amy were there. So Morgan did not get to make it to San Diego Comic Con this year,
Boo.
but we thought we'd do an episode kind of recapping what we did. How is it different from the DC TV days, and what our experiences are now at San Diego Comic Con. So,
Yeah.
Amy, you start first. You actually work for a company while you're at San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah. So this one was a fun one because Kat and I were both there all 4.5 days, and we were both
Hmm.
staying in the gas lamp area. So we got a chance to hang out. So we're gonna kind of share some of the fun stuff that we did, which I'm very excited about because we I gotta tell you, we are very, very good at like bar games. And by
Yes.
we, I mean me.
No,
I'm
you
excellent.
you did it. You did a good job at games you've never played before. So I was very impressed.
So we'll talk about some of the fun stuff that Kat and I did and some of the stuff that we did off site and things we did in the evenings and people we met. But just kind of like a basic overview of my Comic Con. I am a representative for Hero Within, which is a Star Trek, right now it's a Star Trek based apparel company, and we're licensed through Star Trek to sell these really cool jackets. So some of the jackets are screen accurate jackets, some of them are cosplay jackets, some of them are everyday jackets that are like Star Trek themed, where people would look at it and be like, oh, that's a cool hoodie. And you look really close and you go, oh, actually, that's got like some Star Trek insignia on the side. Or, oh, wait a second, that's got the captain's name on the front of it. So Hero Within has a booth and has had a booth on the convention floor at Comic-Con, Star Trek Las Vegas, WonderCon for years. And it's been there since before we did Star Trek stuff, when we did Marvel stuff, DC stuff. And I've been with them since I think 2017. I
Yeah,
started doing
you did press
2017. I
first,
started
and
doing
then you did Heroes Within after, right?
Yeah, because I did press for years at Comic Con,
Mm.
and then I started joining Here Within just to help with their social media during the conventions when the company was really growing. And so for 2 years, I did their social media, and then I started doing booth work. And then last year and this year, I was the host of their offsite lounge. So the offsite lounge was about a 5-minute walk away from all the
Not that
main
far.
stuff happening offsite. It really wasn't that bad.
I
It's
would
at
say it's the
4th and J.
block right after. It's like almost the block
Yeah,
after all the main stuff, which is
all the main
interesting. It's a
stuff.
little bit quieter, but
It's a little
you
bit
definitely got
quieter,
people
and
walking.
yeah, people walked there. And so the idea with the lounge is that you walk in and it's a space for everybody to quote re-energize. So it's called the Energize Lounge because we're Star Trek nerds. Um
I
it's a
don't get
play
it,
off
but
like
I don't get
Cat
that
doesn't
Star
get it.
Trek reference, but I'm sure it's a
Well, okay,
reference.
so when the transporters go, when they're beaming someone down or beaming someone up, they call it energizing them. So when you
Mm.
have the kind of
So
sound,
it's not just
like
calm
that's when
beaming,
they
it's just energizing.
Yeah, so they energize
Okay.
or they re-energize. So basically you like molecularize or you demolecularize. But the idea is this is our second year, so we based it off the second motion picture movie, which was The Wrath of Khan. But the movie is
Mm.
spelled
I know that.
Khan. So we decided to make it The Wrath of Khan, Con.
Ah.
Yep. And next year's is the third motion picture is The Search for Spock. So next year we're like it'll be haha The Search for Coffee. Um so you come into the lounge and you've got a coffee vendor who's selling pre-made super cool cold brews, some kombucha, some tea, some snacks. On like Saturday and Sunday we had extra snacks. But then we also have a lot of smaller Star Trek vendors that don't really have the ability to have booth space. Now we can't sell
Mm.
anything. That's part of the deal. Since
Oh,
we've got a
really? Okay.
booth at Comic-Con, we're not allowed to sell stuff at the store.
For
Doesn't
the
mean I can't have
coffee
a QR
people, all
code. Yes,
coffee
they are.
are
That's
allowed.
separate. So we can't
Okay.
sell our merchandise.
Mm.
But we have a QR code, so you can go to the website and buy it right there
Cool.
after sizing everything you want, because we weren't selling any actual physical product anyway. So it was basically just an additional space because we have so much product this year that we actually didn't have space to keep it all in one place or the other. We had to separate it, which was
Mm.
a bit of an experiment for us. We wanted to see how that went. Like, would people still buy stuff if it wasn't available on the floor, and vice versa?
Did it work out,
Um,
you feel, or?
I think well enough because most of the stuff we had at the lounge was stuff we've had before.
Mm.
All of the new stuff, which is the stuff that people come to see, that was on the convention floor.
And I will say San Diego, and especially how I felt this year with San Diego, it is a lot of the same people coming. And honestly, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
vendors I know, a lot of Artist Alley people are like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of the same customers, which is interesting because I feel like back in the day, it was a lot of new people because like, oh, I want to see Twilight, I want to go see the
Uh-huh.
Arrowverse. But now it really is a lot of the same people. I think A, because it's just that's who's interested or that's who's willing to go. But then B, it's also really hard to get tickets. You know, I think
It's hard to get
the
tickets.
people in the system are still able to get tickets, but if you're not in
Hmm.
the system, haven't had tickets before, it's very hard to get tickets. So it's really interesting in that context. It's like it is a lot of the same faces you're seeing.
And it means that we have to turn out new product
Hmm.
every year. One of them I was very proud of was my idea. There was a specific jacket based off a certain episode. People kept asking for it at WonderCon, and I kept going over to Tony during WonderCon being like, see, the people want it, to the point where it got so annoying. And the next thing I know, it's in the production line.
That's
I was
funny.
like, yeah. Um, but to your point about people coming back, did you notice that this year you could actually guarantee yourself a ticket for next year by buying a package on the floor through Comic Con?
I
But
didn't
it
even
was
know
like,
that.
I'm not kidding, Kat, $1,200. Basically,
That's
it was like a legacy. Like every year you'll be able to get in, but it was $1,200 to
for
get
the
into this
one
legacy
year.
round for the 1 year, and I don't know what that means for future years, but
I
it's
mean,
for the
if
kind of
you're getting
people.
it for like 5 years, I'd be like, I would put
Yeah.
on that money. But if it's for 1 year, it's like I would not put that
Hmm.
money. You know,
The only thing I could think of is if it's worth it is if you are that kind of a collector, where those con exclusives
you
mean that
flip them
much to you,
or
and
you
you
flip
flip them.
them.
Or you,
Hmm.
yeah, or like they're just that important to you. But I'm thinking like, yeah, if you flip them, that makes the most sense. But like,
That's definitely, I feel like the people would actually get it because it's like, oh, okay, well,
hmm,
this is the profit I would make off of flipping this, so I'll pay this. That way, I'm guaranteed to get in this, and then
yep,
what? And maybe the guarantees are, there's other stuff guaranteed. Maybe it's like you get in
hmm.
the Funko line. I don't know.
It's yeah, but that was like that blew me away. I was like, shit, that's. But that just goes to the point that you're getting returning people. So our space also had Star Trek wines there. We had Star
Not
Trek the
sold by
cruise.
you. That was
Not
from other
sold by
people.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like think about it like a little mini Star Trek farmers market inside our space. Like there were
that's
little itty
fun.
bitty vendors.
I remember the
Um
San Diego Comic Con cruise people were there last year at your
yeah, they were
site,
there
right?
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Star Trek wines did really well this year. People were really intrigued in it. I mean, come on, you've got Star Trek nerds. I'm like, come in, check out. We have coffee and wine. Like
Right.
someone's
Why
gonna walk
not?
in that door.
Sure.
And then the wand company, which does these really high end replicas, they started out doing like working replicas of wands, like Harry Potter wands.
Mm.
They actually make some replicas based off of the props used in the original series of Star Trek, but the props they were from the 60s. In the 60s, they didn't obviously do anything. So what they did is imagined like what would these characters that are using this prop actually be using this prop for? So like the communicators are actually Bluetooths. Um, the scanner that they had, the tricorder this year, had a bunch of different functions. So they came 3 times a day to demo the functions, let people test them out. It was hugely popular because this is the kind of replica that super nerds, super Star Trek nerds, people who are
Want
into
it
that kind of stuff, props
or
and merch,
cosplay.
or cosplay, it is to them, it was the golden, the holy grail. It was the
Mm.
golden egg. It was the top ticket item. And for people, they're based in London. They never come to cons. This is the first time they've ever come to Comic Con. For people to come
What
and
was the
see and mess
reasoning they
around with and
did?
fiddle with it, because we had the space for them. So
Oh,
literally,
oh, because they
we
couldn't
had
get
put out a
exhibitor
call.
booth.
Yeah, we put out a call looking for vendors, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to do that. We're actually going to send 2 of our people to come." And it was the
Mm.
2 designers behind the project. So you had the computer engineer and the structural engineer who made this item there, talking to fans about it. And so it was such a passionate, like, each time we would fill up the room basically with people who wanted to hear about this tripod, tricorder,
The tripod
and it
was there
was.
too.
Yeah, the tripod was there, and it was just so cool to see like Star Trek nerds that were just so into it. And you had places to charge your phone and Wi-Fi and a big
The
photo
most important
opportunity.
thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, super important, charging your phone. Cosplayers were coming and hanging out, but this year what was so nice is last year. So I worked it was open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. ish every night. We say ish because it would get dead at a certain time and we'd close. But last year I had to work to pull people in. This year didn't have to work at all. People were just
Oh, great.
constantly coming in.
Because they knew already
People
from
were
word of mouth.
they knew about it. A lot of returnee people. I saw a lot of people, which was really cool because I worked the whole day. So
Hmm.
I got to see people who I recognized from last year, cosplayers that I recognized, people who would come in every single day last year. Like, I had a lot of fun seeing
How are
returning
you not
lounge
tired? You're
people.
working all
Oh, I
day.
was
Were you?
so exhausted. The wand company guys, James and Andrew, were so funny because after their first spiel, you know me, all it takes is one spiel and I'm like, I can do this.
Of
So
course.
as they're talking, they're listening to me spieling about it and they're just kind of staring at me like, how is she doing this? And then the second and third time they came in to do the demos, I like, they're doing the demos, but then people would come in when they weren't actually doing it and I'm doing the spiel for them and they're sitting there just like, how did you do this? And at the end of the con, they were like, we actually had a discussion. We don't know where you get your energy from.
Me either.
Um, and I was like, I don't know if I have a really good answer for you other than a like deep ingrained sense of guilt for letting people down. Like, I think that's where it comes from.
That could
That,
be a good
and
answer.
I have to tell you, I did not, even though people were texting me, messaging me, sharing photos on Instagram or whatever, I did not communicate with the world from Monday through Wednesday.
That's
No
smart.
one got a text back from me. I was full hermit mode. So
Yeah.
that was what happened. I used up all of my spoons and then had to slowly recoup them. Today is the most energized I've felt in a week, and I'm really not kidding.
No, I look, I felt so and we'll talk about like all the stuff we got to
Hmm.
do together, but we went to a party on Thursday
Yeah,
for
tell the
a
story.
work thing I had. Yeah, I'll tell you that, and then I'll tell you we were gonna do another party, which you'll talk about. That I did not go
Yeah.
to 'cause I was so tired, which we'll talk about the energy, but let's talk about the AWA parties. So,
Yeah.
this for me was a very big Kickstarter heavy Comic Con, which I loved.
Yeah.
I enjoy working with Kickstarter. If you guys don't know, I do a lot of Kickstarter projects. So to be so close to the company and to kind of put the word out there for how to make a living off of making comics has been really fun. And I'm really happy that I've gone to make friends and that the company themselves have respected everything we do. So I've been happy with that, and I've seen that a lot through Comic Con too. So I got to do some panels for them. I also did a panel with Mariko Tamaki for their
That
spotlight
was so cool.
panel, which she actually won an award during it. So that was kind of crazy and unplanned. And I was like, wow, so that was
I
cool.
remember seeing
Yeah.
that. What was the award for?
It's the Inkwell. Comic Con does that a lot with comic people. So Inkwell is pretty much like a lifetime achievement award, and they pick like certain
Oh.
creators, and they'll give it to you, but they surprise that person all the time. So I remember like Jeff Loeb got one during like a Marvel TV
Oh, I love
panel.
that.
Yeah, so they pick like maybe five people and they give it to them, and Marigo just so happened to be one of them, and that was a really cool experience, and being able to meet her in person and talk about her comics. But going back to the party, we went to a AWA party. AWA is a comic company that we've become friendly with uh, just because of Kickstarter. Like we went to a Kickstarter dinner a few months ago, which was a private dinner, which was really cool to celebrate their 10th anniversary. And we had a
Wow.
private chef who was like on a Netflix television show, and it was like
What?
20 people. We were with like all the heads of like Kickstarter and just a few small Kickstarter creators, and that's where we got to meet some people from AWA, and which we've had contact with them before actually that dinner, but
Mhm.
then got to like meet in person. So it was fun that they did this party, and it was for Ronda Rousey's Kickstarter, and what was really cool about it, I didn't know what to expect when I went. I thought
Yeah.
maybe it would be a
First
big
off,
party. I wasn't sure. Yeah, go
we
for it.
should point out that we arrive at the address and
Yes,
there's
and
nothing
could not
there.
find. Yeah, we could not
There's
find where
nothing
it
there. It was
was.
like under construction, and we're like, what the hell? We're trying to wander
Yeah,
around finding it, and then we see this piece of paper just
but not
stuck on the
here.
side of the building that says, if you're here for the AWA party, go down the street and turn the block to this address. So we do that, and it took us a hot second to
It did. It
find
took
where
us
it
a
was.
good 10 minutes. I think we were definitely a
Yeah.
little late, which was fine. But yeah, we went in, and it was honestly like a really kind of private party, if I'm being honest. It was the
Mm-hmm.
people who work at Kickstarter. I was really the only other Kickstarter creator there. The
Yeah.
people who work for AWA and Ronda Rousey's entourage and Ronda Rousey. So that was kind of
Yeah.
cool. And it was a
Probably
really
like,
cool
what, 60
venue.
people?
Maybe,
Yeah.
honestly,
Maybe
tops.
50. So, which
Yeah,
for a Comic-Con party, guys, is out of this world. That is that is so small and private and intimate. That's wild. Huge
which
space
I
too.
love. those type of
Yeah.
parties. That's what I enjoy. I like going to
Yeah.
play some games. I enjoy like talking to people and not having music, but not too loud of music that you can't hear the person. And that was this party. We got to play Jenga, pool, beer pong that you've never played before, but you rocked at. You're like,
The
what's the rules? And just kept winning.
Oh, yeah, it was so cool because it's this bar that I'm like, in my back of my brain, I'm like, I'm keeping this for future events that I
Yeah,
have to
because it's a really
host.
cool bar.
It was a
Yeah.
great bar. We had no idea there was gonna be food. Massive spread of food.
Friendly
Tacos for
employees
days.
too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cook piles and piles of cookies, which we'll get back to. Um, like a whole, like I'm talking what 3 foot long charcuterie board with like the little
Yeah.
fancy flour versions of
Mm.
salami. And so who were the people that greeted us at the door? So tell us
That's
about their project real fast.
so they actually work for AWA. So one of them is the
Mm-hmm.
Kickstarter person. He runs all the Kickstarters for AWA. And then the other guy is runs the works for the film department for AWA. So
Mm-hmm.
AWA is a comic company that a lot of times turns their IPs into television and film. That's kind of like their goal. So yeah, that's their jobs, and they're cool guys, and we bonded over basketball and AMC stubs when I saw them. So that's why we're able to bond again through again doing this stuff. It's fun to kind of meet people and just bond friendships. I think that's something that's really cool about Comic Con. Which going into the next party, you were going to the IGN party, and I was like, Amy,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm really freaking tired. Like I don't know how you're doing this. And maybe it's the jet lag for me, but I was like, I
Yeah.
cannot keep my eyes open. I do not want to leave my bed. I could not. I can't. I'm sorry. And you're like, I'm
Yeah.
ready. But I asked you, I was like, oh, do you know anybody that's going? Because I don't want you to go by yourself. Because like I would like to keep you company if you're the only one going. He's like, no, I know plenty of people are going. And that's Comic Con in a nutshell. You could
Yeah.
go somewhere, and even if you don't think you're gonna know anybody, you do know people at
Well,
that party
I
or that event.
I never told you, but I ran
Mm,
into oh my god. Well, I ran into Amelia
mm.
and oh my gosh. My
Like
brain.
you're on their name.
Lauren's friend, NYCC,
Oh, because
Babe Cave.
I know you're talking about.
Uh,
Starts with a C. Uh,
no.
right? Starts with no.
I think it starts with
What
a
else
B.
did they
Why
do?
am I having the world's biggest brain fart moment?
Lauren's friend starts with a B.
It'll come to me.
Well, Lauren, who used to be part of this Legends Tomorrow podcast 10 years ago,
This
her
is so
friend.
embarrassing. Hold on, I'm gonna find it because it's in Amelia's post. Why am I having trouble right now? So sorry. Where is it?
Keep a hold to get some name
hold,
checks.
hold, please.
But it does no, but it shows that and as Amy finds the names that you just find people through like
Oh
press
God.
rooms or stuff, but obviously your industry that you work in or whatever, and you just kind of make friends, which is really cool about it. All right,
Yeah.
you got the name?
No. I, this is so embarrassing. Well, we'll figure it out
Okay.
shortly, and I really hope she's not listening.
I think it'll be okay. Everyone's allowed a
This is
brain fart.
Brit. It was Brit.
Oh yeah, no, I know Brit very well.
Yeah, that's which is why I was like, this is really embarrassing. So let's see. So we had the thing on Thursday, which was really cool, and I
Mhm.
was like, Kat's like, hey, because Phil couldn't make it, and so you had
Yeah,
an additional +1. You're like, hey, you want to join me? And Kat and I had made a effort to find a night where we could just
which we
catch
always
up,
do. No.
which we always do. We try to get together at least one night during Comic Con,
Mm.
catch up, and that was perfect.
Yeah,
We stuffed our faces, played literally. Okay, so the photographer loved us because
because no one
they had
wants
rented out.
anything.
Yeah, they had like everybody else is just talking. We're like, let's go play pool, let's play foosball, and the beer pong that Kat's talking about was actually like massive beer pong, like it
Yeah.
was giant like 4-gallon buckets for beer pong. It was really fun, and then there was like an open bar. It was a really cool, fun event. We
And
got
it
a
was
chance to catch
funny
up.
with the open bar situation too. We were talking
Oh,
to
that
the
was so
people
funny.
who work there, and we're like, oh, like I don't know how the conversation came, but we're like, how's the party going? Like, did a lot of people eat the food? And they're like, no one's eating the food because like everyone's full, and it's also a Hollywood party, so no one's eating the food. I was like, how about the drinks? And they're like, that tab is this amount of money, and it was like 5 times less of what the tab was. Because also it's Thursday, so no one really wants to drink because you have to
Yeah.
wake up the next day and do your job. So it's like you have one drink when you're not gonna get drunk, you know?
Yep. They basically, I think that she said that they had like paid for like $6,000 worth of drinks at the bar and had only utilized like $1,500 worth. And so at the end, I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry girl, right? So I'm eating all the stuff and I'm eyeballing this massive platter of cookies that they've got. And I'm like, so, they're starting to wrap things up. And I was like, so, ha 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 ha, when you guys are done with the food, like, what do you guys do with it? And she basically was like, well, all the staff is really excited because we're going to eat well tonight.
Yeah.
And I was like, so, like, if I wanted to take a couple cookies to go, and she comes out with 2 massive boxes for
It's
me.
like,
So we
take it.
stuffed boxes of cookies and cheese
And
and
she's so
like
nice. She was so nice
grapes.
about it.
It was so
Yeah.
fun. And those cookies got my Energize Lounge crew through the next day.
Oh,
We were
nice.
all tuckered out. Oh, yeah. Those were very popular cookies throughout the entire weekend.
They look
But that
like
was a
good
lot of fun.
cookies.
They were
Yeah, no, that
delicious. I don't know
that
why you
was
didn't eat
so
them.
fun. Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, why no one ate them? I think because it was also
No,
just
why
late
you
at
didn't.
night. Oh, why I didn't? Because also jet lag. At that point, it was like
Yeah.
1 a.m. for me. I was just like, I don't want to eat any cookies. Also, I'm not a big cookie fan, honestly. I'm not a big fan of dessert in general. So I was just like, I'm good. Oh, I mic problems on your side? I don't. I You were fine on or my side. Maybe there's mic problems on my side, but let's see. We're gonna find out for maybe. Keep talking. My headphones died, so we'll see. I'm gonna be chatting. But no, that was a really fun party, and the rest of the con did a couple of signings. I did a signing with When They Were Young, which is a comic that was signed by Prism Comics, which is like a library queer situation. Um, Amy froze, so we're gonna see how she does. And then my friend Charlie Stickney, we did a signing at his booth for White Ash, and that was fun. And I was working from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm trying to think if I did anything else crazy, but mostly it was just like talking to people I know, and I did some interviews to keep because I don't actually do press anymore, but to keep the press badge to make things less difficult for when I have San Diego Comic Con. I just try to do a few interviews. I did a few DC interviews. I'll be going up on my YouTube channel. Batman the Cape Crusader. I did. And then Sunday, I actually took the day off and I went to a movie. And I actually I was with my parents. That's something that we try to do is that Amy will be back, I'm sure. But that's something I try to do. It's the one con they like to do. So I like to Amy's gonna bring herself back in. You back?
Yeah, for what
All
my
right,
my
cool.
like earbud died with no
That's
warning, and
wild.
so I had to switch it over. Yeah, super fun. Yay. Woo woo.
So I was saying and my Comic Con experience was on Sunday. I actually took the day off and I was with my parents because
Yes.
that's the only con they do. They don't really I do
And
a lot of conventions. Mhm.
that's kind of tradition for you. You usually
Yeah,
take Sunday
mhm,
just to relax because you stay in Coronado. You stay in like
I do.
Manhattan. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was nice. I did end up staying at the Del Coronado, which is a nice
Hmm.
hotel. So we tried to chill a little bit, and yeah, it was nice because it's like I think that's also why they like it too because it's relaxing. Like if I take them to a New York Comic
Hmm.
Con, they're like, "That's not relaxing. I don't want to do that." Or if we do the Prides, they're like, "I don't want to do that." It's just like that's
Yeah.
the one convention they like doing. So yeah, they did it, and we had a good time with that. And we went to. Well, I was saying we went to go see movies. So we did. I went to go see Twisters. My mom saw some movie with old ladies, and then my dad went to go see Deadpool, but I couldn't see Deadpool because I was gonna see it with Phil and everybody. So
Oh,
I
that's
just like I
funny.
don't want to see it. I don't. They're going literally. They're going to see the movie because of me. So I didn't want to see it without them.
Yeah,
Because they all
that's funny.
didn't really care about Deadpool. Phil was gonna go see it because we do the newsletter that we have,
Hmm.
and we see all superhero movies. But everyone else was just like, I'm going to see it for a cat. So I'm just like, oh yeah, I already saw Deadpool without you. So I wasn't
Yep.
gonna do that. So I randomly went to go see Twisters, and yeah, it was nice. We had a good last day. We
I
actually
love
again
that.
just had time to kill, but I like doing that. But that kind of
Yeah.
moral of the story is that uh, I don't. I've done it twice now because I've had the opportunity. I hope I continue to be able to take my Sundays off, but with Comic Con and what's so hard is and why I wouldn't like fly back Saturday night is that you don't know your schedule until a week
Yeah.
before. You
Yeah.
genuinely don't know if you're gonna have a panel on that Sunday or whatever. So that's the hard part.
Well, and the panel that they asked you to moderate, you found that out what, a week and a half ahead of time?
I found out I was gonna moderate it a few weeks before, but the
Yeah.
time and day,
Yeah.
2 weeks maybe. So both
Yeah.
panels.
Yeah, it I think for me this year, it's the second year in a row I felt this, is that I enjoyed the hustle, but I
Mm,
lost a little bit of the magic of Comic-Con. Like for instance, I did not
sure.
know. I didn't even bother looking at the schedule because I knew I wasn't going to be able to make any panels. And there
I
was
didn't
a
see any
Hazbin
panels.
Hotel panel, which I really wish I had gone to, mainly because apparently there was a little bit of a sing along. So the actress who plays Charlie, Erica Henningsen. I keep wanting to say Hessinger, which is not right. It's Henningsen. Um, she did exactly what I would do if I was ever the musical singer and voice actor of a character in an animated series. I'd be like, yeah, well, we're gonna sing. It's Comic-Con. So they actually literally did a sing along of the first song, and she's like on a table singing and like walking around and dancing because she's a Broadway star, so she's done this stuff live before. And I was like, I wish I had seen that. I wish I had been there to see that. I didn't need to see the Hall H stuff. We knew everything was going to come up. I do miss the kind of sensation of like the roars in Hall H, and I kind of wish I'd been able to be there for all the Star Trek panels. But I think there were definitely smaller stuff that I would have appreciated being able to go to. So there is a part of me that really wants to maybe next year just quote take a year off. Like there was some cool
You
offsite
should.
activations that I really wish I had gone to, or be like, hey, I'm gonna do part time.
Sure.
Um,
That's probably
so
a good
yeah,
transition being part time.
balance.
So that's like I can't see you also not doing any work at Comic Con. I don't see
Right.
that for you for 4 days. So
Or maybe go back to press. So
yeah.
secret pipe dream, and this I'll put this out into the ether. So if
Mm,
anyone knows anyone, you let me know. Spartacus is coming back. So my pipe dream
mm.
is that Spartacus does an activation, whether on site or off site, and I can
I
be
feel like
like
they
one of the
would.
Spartacus actors. Well, so
Oh,
it's barely started filming that they would have like maybe a little bit to show on a sizzle reel, but nothing to be worth a panel. But like
for
next
next
year,
year though, that's what I'm saying. I feel
oh
like they
yeah,
would. Yeah.
years ago when Spartacus was popular, they did have an activation in the middle, and it was like the gladiator training
I feel like
area.
I for how long ago? That was a while
This was
ago, right?
2013. This was
Yeah, I
2013. I
don't think
know
I
because
was
I
there
looked
for
up
that.
photos.
Yeah.
Because I was big into Spartacus. Okay.
No,
So
yeah, I know.
I
That I'm sure we'll be doing a pilot pod for when that comes out.
oh yes, please. Um. Oh yeah, no, totally. Honestly, Spartacus podcast. Like, let's go. I don't.
This is a
I don't know if you
Spartacus
guys would be in it.
podcast now.
This turns
I
into
will
a
say
Spartacus
this is
podcast.
Spartacus podcast. I will say that I think I would like Spartacus more than I will like House of the Dragon.
Honestly, Spartacus is a really good character show, more than people give it
Yeah,
credit for,
and
because
it's
it's got
action also,
and it's
which I
action.
like.
It's got really cool like who was I talking to about this? I think I was talking at Comic-Con about like how
Mm,
Spartacus it does that thing where it's on Stars, where we joke Stars is all boobs and blood, right?
sure.
But Spartacus has really solid, wonderful characters, a diverse cast. It's generally colorblind. It is gender blind. It's really powerful in its storytelling. And Stephen DeKnight, who writes it, has a very specific way that the characters speak. They speak to each other. I think maybe I was talking to you about this. They speak to each other in kind of a heightened language that
You
almost
were, but
has
not about Spartacus.
Shakespearean roots.
You were talking
Yes,
about something else. I don't think it was Spartacus, but you did talk about the Shakespeare language.
it's definitely Spartacus though, because it was this heightened language
Mm,
that you go back and you read the script. And after doing my Shakespeare plays over this last year, I went back and was reading the script of the pilot and was like, oh my gosh, this has literal Shakespeare roots. Anyway, that's my pipe dream. Next year, I want to be doing one of the activations as an actor. Like that is really what I want to do. Like to be
I think
really
it'd be
honest.
cool.
But
I feel
yeah,
like
no,
that wouldn't. I won't say it won't be hard, but I don't think it's impossible. Is what I was gonna say.
It's not, because they do
Yeah.
casting all the time. The trouble is
Mm,
finding the casting websites, because it's
mm.
what'll happen is big studios like Stars, it's not an individual person being like, "Oh, I know all these people that I want to work with." It's them
Honestly, I
putting
would
up a
just message
casting
P.
notice.
I would message like PR stars because like they have a press person and they
That's
probably
fair.
know the person that's going to be running that activation or what
And be
site you
like,
have to go
"Look,
to.
here's the
Yeah,
thing. Done it for years. Now I might need to go to the gym and get some muscles. I've got some keeper muscles. Like I wore a dress this year and I like put it on for the IGN party. I was like,
mm.
"Ooh, she
Got
got
the
some
muscles.
muscles this year." But Spartacus is a whole new level of muscles. But yeah, what else did I do? The IGN party was fun, just catching up with a lot of people. Got a chance on
Again, you
Thursday.
had the energy somehow to
Oh yeah.
do it, but
Well, a lot of that was, some of it was just really honestly getting the chance to catch up with friends who I had
sure.
not seen in so long. We see each other once a year, and it's usually at the
Mm.
IGN party. Met new friends, which was great. We ended up going back to the Hilton and chatting with some industry folks. Same with Saturday night and Sunday night. Had
Right.
met and chatted with some people.
Oh,
Had some dinner with some industry
I didn't even know what you
folks.
did Sunday night because we didn't get to catch up that day. So
Saturday I did dinner with Brian and Drea, who are the
yeah.
co-hosts of the Arkham um
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh
I know the
the
Arkham. It's
podcast.
the
Oh my gosh, the
psychology.
Arkham
It's
Sessions.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and after their panel, so we did that, and then we just went back to the Hilton and got a chance to hang out with some people. And SlamCon was that night, but it was super early, which I went to super last minute for like half an hour because I had no time. And then Sunday night had some dinner with some industry folks, which was really really nice, like really really nice. But that is a conversation for later. That'll be a
After
fun catch up.
podcast.
Yeah, that's the after pod. But it ended up being just a really exhausting con for me. And I found that not a lot of the news that came out really struck a chord with me. Like
Mm.
there was a lot of flash, and there was that
Or Doctor
huge,
Doom.
really cool like drone light show that they did
Literal
after,
flash.
yeah, like literal flash after the Deadpool premiere. So for those of you who don't know, they actually premiered the Deadpool Wolverine movie at Comic-Con in Hall H, but it turned into a cluster. Did you hear about all this drama, Kat?
No, no, not at
So
all.
they basically had a lottery system where people who got the ticket had a QR code, and they said, "We're going to check your name against the list." Hall
Wow.
H is 6,000 people.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, the person, like, they're having so much trouble. They can't get people in fast enough. The person running that event, helping check people in, got so overwhelmed, they quit and walk out. So at this point,
Wow.
security's like, we're just going to let anybody in. So they let anybody in, and people who had the ticket with their name on it didn't get in. Now, bear in mind, I know because one of my roommates for the con had a friend who paid $300 to get someone's ticket to go in, but because they didn't check the IDs, she didn't get in. She lost $300.
Wow.
So it
That's
turned into a
crazy.
massive cluster. And I was like, and I don't think they actually had QR codes and scanners. They literally just had your name with your ID. Let's check it.
How do you do
And people were
that?
taking screenshots. Like it was so horribly run. But then afterwards, it's like 11 and 11:30 at night. Everybody exits, and they had this massive drone
Sure.
light show, which was like 3D projecting. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. You can find clips
Yeah, I've
everywhere. It's
seen
totally worth
that.
checking out.
Yeah, it's cool. I
Um,
didn't see the full show, but I've seen like some characters from it, which is cool.
and like fireworks from Petco. I was at the Hilton catching up with some friends on the patio, and we're all sitting there going, what is with this fireworks show we're hearing? We're like, with the people who would thoroughly enjoy it, we're all like, what's going on
Sure.
here? Like completely oblivious.
I didn't even know what was
Um,
happening at all. I just
no one
again
had
saw
any
the clips. I was
idea.
like, "Oh, that's really cool." But then
Yeah.
I kind of was like, "I'm glad I went to bed."
Hmm.
That's honestly the hardest part, though, is the jet lag.
Yeah.
I every
I don't know
year
how
it
you do that. I
kills
really
me.
don't.
I don't either, 'cause especially the week
I think you're
before I was in
gonna
Florida. I was
I
just
feel
like
like you're gonna have
traveling.
to start coming out earlier if you want to do evening stuff. If you're like, no, 7 o'clock I go to bed, that's great. But like if you're gonna start like tabling and stuff, I feel like you got to come out 3 or 4 days ahead of time
If we table
and
for
just
sure, but honestly, something I really heard and something I really wanted to table this year. I was like, oh, we should do it, we should do it. But then Phil couldn't even come, so it's like, oh, it was good that we're just walking around. Every friend I had was just like, it's worth it and it's not. And then when you're walking around again for comics, I'm not saying for other
yeah,
like other things, but for comic books, it's just like it's too tight. It's all the same people all the time. You're getting the same audience constantly, so
yeah,
it's just like, am I getting more out of networking with people, getting opportunities with people
yeah,
instead of tabling? And honestly, as of right now, this second, I rather do that, especially because every other
yeah.
convention I'm tabling
You
at,
are tabling.
and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I'm just like I'm making more connections doing this and going to lunch with this person, or chatting with this person, than I would at a table and being trapped. So as of right now, I think I would stick to doing the networking stuff. Especially because next year Phil's gonna actually have the opportunity of going the whole
And
entire
he's never
time, which will be
been.
nice. He's never been, so it'll
Oh,
be
it'll be so
fun.
cute.
Yeah, and I think Julius will come too, so I think that'll be a lot of fun and actually like have a good time, and not actually have a good time. Not that I haven't, but I think if we exhibited it, it wouldn't be as much of a good time. I think we're just gonna be
Yeah,
tired, and yeah, I mean, coming in earlier would be nice, but again, it's always the hustle of everything else. Like the
yeah,
the SuperCon was a week before, and then we got back
yeah.
that Tuesday, and then we flew out. I think yeah,
Wednesday.
Thursday, Wednesday exactly. So it's just like, oh
Yeah,
man, you're getting no time. So and then yeah, the 3 hour jet lag when you go there, you just don't notice it until you're working all day. You're like, I'm so tired.
you're beat. Yeah. I mean, I was beaten. I had no jet
Yeah.
lag. I don't know. Like jet lag, it would just absolutely kill me. I would be a mess.
And it's
So,
interesting because for you, you would always have the opposite jet lag. Because if
yeah.
you went to New York, you would just be like, oh, wow, it's a lot later. I can't. But for me, I have to like stay up later because it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot earlier.
Yeah, I think you get the rougher end of the deal. Like, it would
Yeah.
be hard for me to get up early, but I'm so used to getting up early for
Mhm.
work, even when I'm not ready for it, that as long as
Mhm.
I have my coffee, I'm usually good to go. I'm just miserable. Um,
I feel
so
like
my
it'd be
question for
easier to
you,
adjust. Mhm.
like going back to just the overall stuff that they announced at Comic Con, I
Sure.
feel like the biggest things, the Paramount panel did give some insight into some new Star Trek stuff that's happening, which is
Sure.
pretty cool. Um, the the Doctor Doom thing with Robert Downey Jr. was a big deal. I have mixed feelings on that.
I do
Um,
too. I want to see how they do it.
yeah,
I never can judge when I'm just like, here he is. But it's also off of the heels of Deadpool, which I did really like. But it is a nostalgia movie. It's very much based on how much you like Marvel and what specific sections of Marvel you like, and a lot of it is just about nostalgia. And now it's like, oh,
hmm,
can the MCU do something original and not rely on nostalgia? But then at the same time, can
yeah,
they sell a movie when it's original and not relying on nostalgia? Don't know. So that's the mixed feelings of that casting. But also,
yeah.
I'm a big Fantastic Four fan, so just
I was
curious to
gonna say,
see.
what's your
Yeah,
thought on the Fantastic Four
I it,
info that you got that we
yeah, I
saw?
mean the casting is cool. I really like
Hmm.
the casting. They seem, now that we're like kind of physically seeing them to get all together on stage. They seem like they could be a cool crew. So I'm excited. But with the Marvel movies in general and superhero movies, I tend not to get. I've been led down a lot, especially I really wanted to
Yeah,
love Thor: Love and Thunder. I was like, that was the one I really want to
I
love because
remember
I like
that.
Jane Foster a lot. Hated that movie. I just thought it was everything that the arc from the comics that it just didn't translate it well. And usually I don't
Yeah,
care if it's like, oh, comic specific. But when you're telling a cancer story, I think you should be a little bit specific and not make it comedic. But
yeah.
yeah, so I tend not to get really that excited until the moment happens, and just like, oh, let's see if this movie's good or not. I just, yeah, that's just kind of my personality now when it comes to media too. It's just like it's really hard for me to get excited for something in media. Comics, still, you get a few comics here and there, but it's more of like I get excited in the moment than I
Yeah,
don't get anticipation anymore. I get enjoyment in the moment. That's probably the
I
best way
think
to put it.
I think for me, the only thing that I get like really, really excited about now is books. And you know
No,
why?
yeah, true.
It sure, yeah. I think one of the reasons that I do get so excited is there's no trailer. There's no
Mhm.
clips. There might be a chapter, there might be a couple lines, but for the most part, you're
You don't know
going
what's
in
coming.
mostly blind. And now sometimes that backfires. That book that I was so excited about like a year ago, have not finished. I have like
Really?
9
I didn't know
chapters
that.
left and I'm bored out of my mind. I
Oh,
was
that
like, this is
sucks.
so annoying. And part of it
It was
was kind of
long.
actually classic comic book. Yes, so it's like 900 pages. So I did pretty good. I got 800 pages in. I'm
Yeah,
good. But it's kind of classic comic booky. You know when comic books or comic book shows or movies are like, okay, we're gonna have a crossover and we're gonna bring
sure.
these characters in, and you're like, wow, this is gonna be amazing. They show up for the first act and they leave, and you're like,
Mm,
I waited all this time and that's what I got.
no,
That's
you
what
don't want
happened
to
in the
have that
book.
for a crossover. Ooh,
Yeah, I literally was like 800 pages and this is all we get. And
sure.
so all that anticipation that I had built up didn't end up coming to fruition. But otherwise, I've got other books that I'm so excited for the third book to come out and stuff. And so
Mm,
that for me gets me excited. But there's very little about Comic Con this year that got me excited, which is why I think next year I want to go
as a fan.
and experience it as a fan at the panels. I want to go to book panels. I want to go to like the Hazbin Hotel panel. I want to go to the Spartacus panel.
You should.
I want to do more of the offsite activations.
I've
There
never
were so many
done
cool
one,
photo
believe it or
shoots.
not. Never done off
Really?
because why? I would never have time. I would just go to the convention, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We got okay. That's next year. We're gonna do
that's
one. How
cool.
about
We'll do
that?
one.
That's our little Comic Compact.
I
And
like it.
someone asked me like, what is your thing when you go on the convention floor? Do you like to buy stuff? Do you like to buy art? Do you buy Funko Pops? Like, what is your thing? And I thought about it for a while because I'm like, I used to buy art, but I've just got a
Mm,
box of art in my house that I've never put up before. That at this point I should just sell because it's just sitting in a box. Um, and I was like, what is the thing I like? And I realized I really like photo ops. I like
okay,
those photo ops where it's like you're in the scene or you're part of the exhibit.
that's
Like,
fun
yeah, you know,
because you
remember
can
a couple
always
years
put that
ago?
on social media and like make it live forever. You know?
It lives forever. I post it. I don't have to have any storage space for it. It didn't
Sure.
cost me anything. Like I liked those, and there were all kinds of photo ops this year that were really cool. There were also other shows that I'm like, I kind of wish that I had gotten a chance to watch because they look really cool. Like Interview with the Vampire, I guess is doing very very well. So that's
Yeah.
something we should add on our list of things to watch. Um, the did you see all the stuff for those about to die? So it was
No.
the like Roman Empire Colosseum thing that's on
Oh, maybe I
Peacock.
did see one trailer. I did see a trailer for that. Does seem up your alley.
No, I have so many
Really?
thoughts because I saw the trailer and I was like, this trailer, something's wrong with this. I'm like, what is
Okay.
off about this? And I go and I start reading reviews and I was like, okay, people are picking up on it that it's just really poorly done. And I watched the
No.
trailer again and I was actually watching it with a couple of industry friends and we're all sitting there going, this looks too clean. And remember how in when we did Avatar, we were talking about how they didn't age up any of the costumes
Mhm.
and we could feel it. This was too colorful. It was too clean. Like they were fighting in
Right.
the Colosseum and their hair's all nice. There's no blood on them. The dust isn't everywhere. I'm like, this is too clean. And just initially that represented the rest apparently of the script. So I kind of want to watch it just to be like, okay, we were right. But we were all sitting there talking about like how they put so much money this year into having that massive screen right outside the convention center. Whereas last year, Minority Report, which was also Peacock in that space, got a dinky little something, but had a massive fan following and didn't get a third
Sure.
season. So it was interesting to kind of talk to people who are in that area and be like, oh, it feels a little challenging when you see Peacock putting so much effort into a show that just doesn't have is just not that good
Probably not
compared
gonna
to other
succeed.
shows that are better.
Sure.
Yeah. But it is interesting to look at that from the guise of like you know someone who's now doing a lot more theater and stuff. Where it's interesting. I love being able to watch shows now. The more theater I do, the more I pick up on things.
Sure.
And
And like
even though
blocking
I
and stuff
couldn't
like that.
yeah, even though I couldn't hear anything that on the trailer, I was able to pick up, oh, you're not authentic in this moment, or you have no intention behind it, or you're literally standing in a spot and staying your lines. And it's really interesting to see how we can pick up on that right away. And the people that I was having dinner with, they're also picking up on that, and we're like, okay. So it's interesting to see that that's what Peacock chose to spend its money
Sure.
on. Um, and it probably won't get more than a second season. I don't know. I haven't
Uh,
seen it. For all I know, it's great, but it's gotten a lot of poor reviews, so I really don't have any intention of watching it. So
I feel like usually poor reviews doesn't help the case of
yeah,
people watching the show.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. Was there anything that stood out to you at Comic Con, like that was announced, that was shared, that you were like, wow, I'm so excited?
Not at all. One thing I always try and make a
Yeah.
tradition of Comic-Con, they took it away, because, comic panels, I tend to I like to go to them, but I don't have the chance to always do it, but the one I always like going to is the Spider-Man panel. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so
Mm,
I like going as a fan, just
yeah.
going to a Spider-Man panel. But the last, like, 2 years, they haven't had it. They have, like, X-Men, they'll have,
Oh,
like, their big, like, Marvel panel, but they don't have a
yeah.
specific Spider-Man panel, and
Let's
that's the only
host
one I
it,
like to go to. I would love to. I love to go
girl.
to do it. But,
Let's do it next year. Put a Spider-Man panel forward. We've got plenty of people we can get on that.
yeah, I think it'd be fun. But I think also what I like about the Spider-Man panel that used to be the Spider-Man panel is that it was
Mm.
ran by Marvel, so they got to like talk about like the books that are coming out. But
Oh,
yeah, and I like that. So like, oh, I want to see what's going on with Spider-Man, but they don't they're just not putting focus on it right now. Maybe because of whatever's happening with the movies and you not knowing if Spider-Man's going to be showing up again.
yeah.
I'm guessing that's why. Because now X-Men, they didn't do X-Men Forever, and now it's like X-Men is the new thing that we're always talking about because obviously they're gonna do a lot with the movies with X-Men. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's the one I like to go to. But other than that, I didn't go to any. I was gonna maybe go to the Power Rangers panel because I just have friends that work on those books. Also, I like Power Rangers a lot, so I didn't get to go to it. I was
Yeah,
like,
I
do
didn't
I
get
do that
to.
or do I have lunch? And I decided to have lunch instead.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is like when I was doing stuff from 7 to 5 every
Sure.
day, there was a panel at 7 that I wanted to go to support friends, and I was so tired. I was like,
Hmm.
I had 1 hour to walk the floor. I'm like, I'm gonna go walk the floor, and I was like, I gotta go back, and I have to go meet this person, and I have to go meet
Sure.
that person, and it does end up feeling a lot like this, like crazy industry roller coaster where we're
It is.
all
It's the
trying to
best way to put it.
make connections, keep connections. And there is something to be said about the magic of just going as a fan that I miss a little bit. And I think next year I might try to prioritize that. But at the same time,
It's
I
cool to
have
see a
no
different side of your
illusions.
career too. Like you're in a different side of
Yeah,
your career.
exactly. I have no illusions about the fact that Comic Con is a like a hub for making connections.
Sure.
Every
Yeah,
year
for sure.
at the Hilton, there's something called SlamCon, and it's just a bunch of writers who get together at the bar by the pool at the Hilton. Um, and it's just an opportunity for people to meet and talk. And it's one of the sorry, mosquitoes.
Those are not
It's
fun.
just yeah, one of those opportunities for people to talk to and learn about the industry. And so it's a really important thing for people to do, and it's important for us, you and I both, to
Yeah.
do. But like, there's something about me that envies
Hmm.
like if Morgan were to come, Morgan's just gonna be having the time of her life with Mike, just going to panels,
Sure.
and like I could totally see Morgan and Mike just taking the con by storm and like literally just doing activation after activation and photo shoot and like they're going to all these panels and you and I are like hi bye like
No, for sure. I think they'd actually and also have a relaxing dinner and, like, enjoy San
mhm
Diego. I'm sure they'll have the
mhm
opportunities to do that, and I think that's why I try to have that one break day where I'm just like, "Let
yeah
me enjoy" even if it's not the
I think
convention,
that's
'cause, like,
really
I had enough of the convention. I'm like, "I just wanna enjoy
yeah
San Diego. I just wanna enjoy getting an ice cream." There's also even just from a work standpoint, like, when you're at home, you're just like, work, 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 and it's like when you're
yeah
outside of your house, it's kinda nice to be like, "Oh, actually, I can take a day off and just have a
yeah
taco," you know?
yeah and there's also something too at Comic-Con you have so many people you want to catch up with that when you
Too
don't get a
many.
chance to catch up with them it almost it's like oh I tried so
You
hard I feel
guilt.
frustrated now I have to
Yeah,
apologize to everybody I'm so
exactly.
sorry I didn't catch up or oh my gosh I wish I'd known you were there we could have caught up then but they're like yeah but I was working with someone else and you're like no I was too like it just
Sure.
ends up being this massive amusement park of industry people and
You
it's
have
very
FOMO
fun
even though you're there, you're like, "Oh,
it
but how if I miss out on this? How if I miss out on that?" And it's just like you have
mm-hmm
this guilt that is weird, and, I'm trying to train myself to be like, "No, you did every" and Phil especially especially because he wasn't there, which was nice. I
Yeah,
talked to him in the morning, kind of give him the rundown what happened, and I was like, oh, I didn't get to
totally.
do this, but I feel guilty I haven't been able to do that, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh man, so that part
Something
sucks.
else that I'm trying to get more confident about too at stuff like Comic Cons is that I can put all the effort into reaching out to people and be like, hey, let's catch up and let's
But
catch up and
they
let's
can
catch up.
too, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that other people, and it did happen a lot more this year with
Mm.
certain people, or they're reaching out to me, hey, do you want to come to dinner? Hey, do we want to do this? But there's a point where I can only put so much forward before I have to kind of just find those opportunities to take. It sounds bad. Take what I can get. That's not what not what I
No,
mean.
but
I take
I
the
know what you
opportunities of the
mean.
people
Yeah,
who are reciprocating.
sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and taking those moments and slowing down a little bit, because there was a time like last year or a couple years ago where I would go back to back to back to back to back to back to back, and it was wild and it was fun. But there was something really nice about this year about just sitting down and having an actual sit down dinner with
No,
somebody,
100%. That feels so
and
much
that was
better than
so
the small
nice.
conversations.
Yeah,
And
the
that's
small
kind of
conversations.
what's weird about Comic-Con too, especially I think with both of our careers that we just get to know more
Yeah,
people. I had a harder time walking on the floor just listening to my music and no one saying, "Hey, cat." I was like, "Oh God, I don't want to like. I love seeing you, but I also just do not want to talk
dude,
right
I
now."
totally know that. There was a point
Yeah,
where I was walking the floor and I was bumping into people and I was like,
yeah.
"Hi." And
And I'm just
I
like, I
was
just
like,
need a
I have
minute.
been doing this all day. I literally want to like there's a point where I was like, I get now why people put on masks. Like
Yeah,
I just want to disappear, which is the other thing by the way that I want to do. I actually really want to cosplay. Maybe not at
that's nice.
Comic-Con,
You should.
but I really want to start doing some book cosplays. I'm already putting together some ideas. And by cosplay, I mean I can sew some stuff. Like I have made an Arwen costume before, but I Goodwill cosplay. I start by
Mm,
finding my base pieces at
that's
Goodwill
smart.
opportunistically. So like when I did the Scarlet Witch one a couple years ago, it didn't start to happen until I found the perfect red jacket at Goodwill and I was like, "Oh, okay, now I can start building it." Um so I'm looking for the perfect red fabric for this cape of a character in a book that I really want to do, where if I was in like black leather and white hair and a red cape, people would know who I was. They're like, "Oh my god, you're Manon from Throne of Glass." I'd be like, "Sure am." Like bookish cosplays are becoming really popular, and
Is
I
there
was
a
a little
book
bummed.
con? I feel like there is a book
Oh,
con. I feel like there's one
there's a
in
lot of book
New
cons.
York.
There are a number of book cons. Some of them are smaller than others. There's one called a Polycon, which is a big one. Tickets sell out every year, but that one has had some trouble logistically running in the
Mm,
last few years. And I, the cosplayers that I saw for the books that I'm really interested in, I did see them at WonderCon. So like
okay.
WonderCon, DragonCon, those
Dragon Con's a big
kind of
cosplay, yeah.
mid-size
Mm.
conventions get a lot of those cosplays, and I think I would really like to start
Star Wars Wonder I
cosplaying
mean,
more.
WonderCon's a better, an easier
Oh
trip
yeah,
for you, so
totally. But
yeah.
anywho, yeah, interesting, fun year. It's one of those things where you look back and you go, I had a great time.
Me
So fun.
too. In the moment
So
you're tired, but
exhausted.
then going back, you're like, that was a good time.
You're like that was actually pretty cool, and like
Yeah.
realistically you and I are sitting here going, oh, all of these industry people that we had to meet with to further our careers and have
Right.
fancy dinners with and parties and cookie platters and charcuterie boards. Like
No,
what do
definitely
we
nothing to
realistically
actually
have to
complain
complain
about.
about?
No, there's no actual
We're just,
complaints by any means.
yeah, it's all finding that balance, and I think you and
Sure.
I are now at the point in our careers as well as Comic-Con veterans where we have felt it all on the roller coaster,
Sure.
and we'd like to find a nice balance where we can succeed in where we want but also value the time that we spend with people who we only get to see once a year.
Yeah, and I think that's what's fun about Comic Con too, is that it's every year is a different journey and
Yep.
a different opportunity, and that's something I love about this event in particular because there's a lot of cons that I go to that every year feels the same. It's like I've done this
Mm,
before,
that's
deja vu.
interesting.
I've done exactly this. But with San Diego, I never feel that way, and maybe because I'm going as a professional and not doing the floor, because I mean, doing the floor it's a lot of them are similar. I would say the only thing that
Yeah.
is different is New York Comic Con. I would say New York Comic Con feels a little different past the other artist alleys, just because it's
Yeah.
so much. you just draw a bigger crowd. I would say that's the best way to put it. It's just because I don't want to say it's bigger because the artist alley is probably the same size. They're honestly very exclusive with their artist alley, but it's just more people want to go to artist alley. It's very specific.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's fun, and I agree. Like you gotta find time for your fun and just catching up with
Hmm.
people, but also your career. And every year is gonna be different. And
Yeah.
we'll do another of these podcasts next year, I'm sure, because we
Yeah,
do it
and
every
like
year.
I loved doing the lounge. I loved seeing the
Mm,
cosplayers. I loved catching up with people. Like there are cosplayers where I was like, we're gonna be besties. Like this is great. Um, but there was also a point where at one point I was like, I am so tired. Like I
yeah,
am on the whole time. It's like being a
that's
cruise
the issue.
director
Mentally
all day,
on.
every
Yeah.
day. Mentally you're on, physically you're on. Like I didn't sit down. I'm just
Yeah.
in full like host mode, and that is what con is, and that's what I'm good at. But
It's
it
tiring.
does, there comes a point where I actually had trouble turning it off at night when
Mm.
I was going to dinner, being like,
Yeah.
okay, hold on a second, take a breath. I can be me for a second. And so I was talking with some good friends of mine who we did have dinner over the con about like how those moments I was my most authentic self with
Mm.
them. And that was because we could just nerd out hardcore about Shakespeare. And I didn't have to explain to anybody why I liked it. Because I did a bunch of that over the convention. I did a
Because people
bunch of
already know
explaining
you.
why people who I'm trying to make a connection to, or I'm trying to, for lack of a better word, impress, be like, hey, here is me, this is me as an actress, this is why Shakespeare means so much to me, this is why I think it's valuable as an actor, this is why I'm looking into studying it more professionally, this is why theater's really important to me. And I felt like there was a lot of explaining and kind of being like, this is me, I'm telling you my story, I'm telling you
You're
my
always pitching
relation to
yourself.
Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I'm always pitching myself. And then that night, that the Saturday night dinner, I didn't have to explain it at all.
Sure.
They knew it. They got it. They got me, and it was so nice. I was like, "Oh, okay, this is nice." I could just sit here for a second and be like, "Yes, oh my god, yes, oh yeah, haha, no, totally." Like that kind of moment where you're
Hmm.
like, "Oh, we get each other," was
Sure.
really refreshing. And I just have to remember, I think that both of us have to remember to find those moments where we can just authentically be ourselves and not feel like we have to pitch ourselves. I love that you get this.
Yeah.
Like you understand what I'm saying right now.
No, 100%. I agree. And I think that's why I cherish our dinners that we always have every year too, because it
Yes.
is the moment where you can kind of just escape of everything and just like catch up, be friends, and just like cool.
Mhm.
And again, like I go back to IGN party. I think if anybody else, I would have had a call or say, dude, I can't go. I would have been a little
Yeah.
anxious. I would have been like, oh man, I'm letting this person down. I can't believe this. But then with you, I'm just like, you're my good friend. I know you know
Yeah.
what I'm feeling. You're feeling the same way. We communicate with each other very well. There was
Yeah.
no nervousness at all. It's like, I'm going to call
Yeah.
Amy. I think I texted you and I was like, yeah, no, we both understand each other very well. So I didn't
Yeah.
really, there was no worry in the world in that regard.
Yeah, and being like, I'm really tired. I was like, girl, I feel you.
Yeah.
If I did not already have like the mental prep to go to this, like I
Yeah.
was already working on my dragon tail braid, which incidentally stayed in my hair. Fun fact, girl fact. Once I did that dragon tail braid, I actually got that to stay for the rest of the con, and I was like,
Damn,
oh
good for
my
you.
gosh, this was a
That's a
hairstyle that
rarity.
stayed all 3 days. And I was like, this is next year. This is happening because the biggest stupid big thing that drives me nuts during Comic-Con is my hair.
Mm,
Because I know I'm being photographed. I know that
right.
I have bangs that I'm growing out right now because I can't have them at work at the safari park. It's just not possible. And so I'm growing them out, so my hair's all awkward, and I'm also entering my curly girl phase because it turns out that my hair is actually naturally curly.
I
Instagram
feel
has
like
taught
a
me.
lot of I obviously have all curly hair, but people
Yeah.
who have straight hair or like wavy hair, they like figure out they have curly hair. It's very interesting. And my
Oh, it
straight
was a
hair
thing.
friends that find that
It was a whole thing, Kat. I went and I got my hair cut at the place I get my eyebrows done, and it's this
mm.
hole in the wall place in,
You
quite
can get your
frankly, a
eyebrows done
really
at a place you can also get your hair done. I've never seen that before.
oh, welcome to San Diego. Like so, this is the place is called Modern Haircuts Plus, and it is
I've
in
never seen
like
that.
it is like very is a very low income part of the
Mm.
um the city, and that's where, quite frankly, why I started going there. And they're so good. She's the only one I trust to do my eyebrows. She does it
Good for
perfectly every
you.
time. But she did my hair,
You get
and she
wax,
was
you get
like,
thread.
wax. Oh no, just
Good.
wax.
I
She
did.
would do
I've
threading,
done
but
threading. and that is the
Really?
worst experience I've ever had in my
Oh,
fucking life. It hurts like
oh.
a mother.
But you have such nice eyebrows. Why would you like do the threading?
When I was like in high school, I did it. So like I was just like,
Oh,
oh, let me try doing this. So, um, yeah,
yeah.
but then I started
No.
waxing it, and then with waxing, it's more just shaping it because I do have very
Yeah.
good eyebrows, and I don't have to wax it very often, so that's always nice too. Because it's like honestly, the shape is always there. It's just more of like if I want to clean it up or anything. But if I'm waxing my eyebrows, I gotta go to a place that only does that, which so it's just funny to hear.
Um,
Where it's just like,
we have a lot of places that do nails and waxing,
yes, that I've seen
but
before. That I've seen,
this
but never a
place,
haircut, Anna.
yeah, they do modern haircuts. The plus is the eyebrow and the nails. Small little family business. The girl's name is Hannah. Hannah takes care of me. But for my eyebrows, lip, and my hair, it came up to $22. Like I end up
That's
tipping
fucking
her
crazy.
like 200%. Like I give her like
Yeah.
more, I give her more than I actually pay the company, which she always treats me really well. But she did it and she layered it and I get home and my hair is like curly girl bouncy. I'm like, "What the heck?" Start putting literally all I did that night that I was with you, I didn't do any product. That was just like leave-in conditioner and a little bit of scrunching. Like it curly girls. But here's the
Only
problem with the
half
curly girl
of
hair.
people are gonna understand this conversation, but I hope
Oh,
the
I
other
love this.
half loves it.
Yeah, yeah, and they're gonna enjoy it. Here's the challenge with the curly girl part is that if you do like really like you actually style your curls and stuff and you things
Mm,
you need to you try to keep them in as long as possible. Just shower once or twice a week. It's not
sure.
possible for me. I work in dust, hay, and everything that I have to shower every single night. I have to
You
wash
wash
my
your
hair
hair every
every
day
night.
too. I do
I
too.
have to.
I do too, but not everybody says you should, but I agree with you. And also with what you do, you have to, but
Oh yeah. Like I'll literally there'll be some nights like today I was showering and there's literally like hay falling out of my hair. The last thing I want is for that to be on my pillow. So
sure,
anyway, that
no,
was our
I
curly
agree.
girl
There we
hair
go.
tangent. But anything else you want to share about
Yeah,
Comic-Con?
I think this is good. And we're still figuring out our schedule for we have a lot of things that we want to cover. So that's why it's like, oh, let's
Yes.
figure out what we all want to cover, who could be on what, because we still got summer going on, and that's always fun figuring out everyone's schedules. But we'll have content. We're sorry that um last month I feel like we missed like a week, so we'll be back on track for sure. It's just
Yeah.
Comic Con, honestly.
Yeah, Comic-Con and then my play and then your Kickstarter. We just had
Yeah,
so much going on. And to be really
traveling.
honest, the heat where I live has also been a problem because I can't record indoors
Sure.
because the air conditioner's so loud. All you guys would hear would be goosh, 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 goosh. So
Right.
that's not going to work. And I can only record outside when it's not 100 degrees. It was when I started recording, Cat, it was still 91 degrees.
It was really hot. That was the last
Yeah,
thing I'll say about San Diego is it was a lot hotter there than it has ever been. So
yeah.
I'm sorry. And it's
Climate
been a lot
change.
hotter here too. So I could,
Yeah,
it's just hot everywhere. I thought I'd escape it a little bit, but no,
nope.
it literally is just hot everywhere now.
I I escaped it because I work inland.
Mm.
So it was a solid 12, 13 degrees cooler downtown than it was
Wow.
at work. So if you thought it was bad there, try being up in Escondido, working at the safari
Yeah.
park outside in that
We're
heat.
no treat. Yeah.
I was like, this is so nice. I have air conditioning. I was like, this is great.
Much big,
The like one or
definitely a big difference.
yeah, the one or two times I had to go out to like get people to come into the lounge, all I had to do go was, "Hi, Star Trek and air conditioning and wine. Come on in." And people were like, zoom, straight in.
Right.
So easy. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up. Kat, what do you have going on right now? Is there anything people can check in with you?
I'm trying to think of the timeline. I'll talk about my next Kickstarter. We do have
Yeah.
a Kickstarter ending, but once you watch this, it'll probably be over by then. So next Kickstarter is Mob Princess issue one. It's a new book. It's a safe workbook. It's actually this is a fun story. When I was getting my TV writing degree for my master's, we had to do a project just to do an outline, figure out a script, and we did that a few
Yeah.
times. We kind of had to do that because that's like was part of the degree. And I came up with Mob Princess at that point, and it was just something I was kind of working on. And then
I
I've
remember
shelved
that.
it for a while when I was focused. Yes, I've told you about it, and I think you've
Yeah.
read some of it. So I shelved it for a while, and I was just like, oh, I'll make a comic out of it. And then one of my friends is like, how about that comic you wrote? Like, you should like make it an actual comic. I'm like, yeah, why don't I? So I fixed it up and I made it an actual comic, and it's a book I really like, and it's very Staten Island. So if you've ever wanted to learn more about Staten Island, read this book. There's a lot of
Ah,
landmarks, a lot of references, and if you like mob stories but you want a feminist twist to it, go check it out. So that's going to be
I love that.
launching August 12th. So I'm really excited about
I'm
it.
so excited for you. You guys have
Yeah,
such
that's a
cool
good one.
stuff. I'm like always stoked.
Thank you. We're
Um,
always trying having new stuff too. We always try to weave
ugh,
in the old with the new. So
oh yeah.
it's cool.
You've got good stuff. I'm so excited for you. Literally every time you release something, I'm like, there it is. That's my girl.
I appreciate it.
Where can
How about
people find you
you?
online?
Well, at Comic Uno for me, everything follow me for that. What do you have anything coming up that you want to plug?
You guys can find me on Instagram, Amy_HYP. I just updated basically an online. It's a website, but it's an online one-page website that has like my theatrical CV, some photos, some contact options from the shows that I've done over the last year because we've gotten some really cool pictures. So it's on my Instagram, Amy_hip. If you go to one of the links, but if you're actually looking for the website, it's Amy-Hypnoroski, and then it's one of the card websites. So I'll buy a domain eventually. .carrd.co, but basically I'll link it in our description. But it's nice because it's just a one-page CV. I finished it right before Comic-Con. You could just scroll through, see what I've done theatrically. Um, theatric, theatrically, yeah.
It
I am,
almost sound like you're doing movies, but I understood what you're saying.
yeah. I was like, that's not right. But you
But
guys
I think it
can
is right.
reach out to me through there. Yeah. So if you guys have any shows and stuff, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break from theater for the time being, just
Got to
to
reboot.
prioritize some other stuff. Yeah, I need to reboot. I ended up doing 4 productions in 13 months. 3 of them as a
Crazy.
lead. One of them was a professional equity production. I'm non-union, so I was not paid equity, but it was an equity production because we had equity members in it. Um, 4 productions in 13 months is absolutely wild. Like, that is
Shakespeare
insane.
included.
Yeah, 2 of them were Shakespeare. Both of the Shakespeares were like massive parts. So I'm really, really proud of the work that I did. Those of you who have been with our podcast for a while, we have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/the legendary ladies. I'm half tempted. I have the link for Much Ado About Nothing. I'm
I
half
think,
tempted to
look,
make that a Patreon
you
exclusive.
should do it. I don't even think you should be
Yeah.
tempted. I think you should do it.
Yeah, because we have it. It's far enough away that it's sometimes hard to it's an outdoor theater. There's only so close. It's not a professional cameraman, but I'm half tempted to put it up for our patrons to check it out and then maybe make it public down the line. But if you guys want to see me as Beatrice, I think I'm gonna do that on our Patreon.
I think you
But yeah,
should.
is there anything else we want
Yeah.
to plug before we take off?
I think we'll take off and stay legendary.